people could imagine anything they want, which is what I like about radio. We could say right now, you're sitting on my lap. See what I mean? Wow, she's sitting on my lap. She's got her arms around me. This is like crazy.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Humphreys, and this is The Pursuit, where I help you in your journey, your hustle, and your climb to become your best self and give the world your best work. After all, I'm still hustling after that too, guys. So I sit down with today's leading celebrities, entrepreneurs, and executives, and then I break down success for the rest of us. Let's dive into this episode with the Larry King. There's talent, there's achievement, there's success, and then on another level, there's a career so unparalleled, one becomes an icon not only in their industry, but of an entire era. Such is the career of Larry King, the Peabody-winning, Emmy-nominated, 10-time cable ACE award-winning television and radio host. His story is the stuff of legend. He was an unknown Jewish kid from Brooklyn who starts cleaning floors, changes his name, jumps on the air when a DJ calls in sick, and then goes on to perform over 60,000 interviews, get multiple Lifetime Achievement Awards, even accept a star on the Hollywood Hall of Fame, and become possibly the leading talk show host of all time on both television and radio. Even today, at 83, King is still interviewing leaders and celebrities on a digital network he co-founded, Aura TV. How exactly does one do that? I met King in his impressive trophy room in his Beverly Hills mansion and asked him just that. Larry, thanks for letting us come today.
Happy to be here on The Pursuit.
Yes, we are
here. What are we pursuing?
Success and becoming our best selves and putting out our best work.
I'm ready.
All right. If there's anyone who's an example of best work, I don't know that it gets much better than you. I mean, look at this trophy room. This is crazy. So I want to kind of go back to the beginning and go through a few phases of your life. I think a lot of people would think you're lucky in that you knew what you wanted to do at such a young age. You were 5, right?
I was 5, and I listened to the radio. I don't know why, but I was fascinated by radio. There was no television then, and I wanted to be on the radio. So other kids might have want to be firemen, policemen, doctors. I wanted to be on the radio. And I just dreamed about it all the time, and I would imitate radio announcers, pretend I was a radio announcer, listen to broadcasts, and then, I'd hear like a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense, and then I would do that. And then my father passed away when I was only 9 and a half, and that kind of threw us off because I never went to college. But I always had the dream, and I worked at a bunch of odd jobs until one day I ran into, on the street, James Sermons, who was director of announcers at CBS. And I asked him, I wonder when I get in the radio. I'm 22 years old. I really want to. He said, well, go to try Miami. So I was able to, my mother had gone back to work. My brother was graduating college, so I went down to Miami and broke in at a small radio station where they hired me, they listened to me. I hung around that station, learned to watch radio. They gave me my new name, which I legally changed it. And on May 1st, 1957, my career started.
Yeah.
So if I make it to May next year, that's 60 years on the air. And
when you make it.
And then that's 7 decades.
Incredible. I mean, I feel like people my age can't comprehend, or a lot of people can't comprehend doing something for that many years.
Well, because it really was never worked to me. Kelsey, it was always, just the last time I worked I was a helper on the United Parcel Service truck delivering packages in New York City when I was 22 and a half years old. I haven't worked since. I have had the pleasure of being in broadcasting, which is to me the greatest of jobs. In that I meet new people every day, get to ask them questions, get paid for it. And I've done it radio, television, started television very early too. And then, of course, did the first national radio talk show on a network, Mutual. And then Ted Turner brought me to CNN, where I spent almost 26 years.
Right.
And then the internet came along, and Carlos Slim, Mexico, who liked my work, and he said, why don't we do something together? And that created Aura.tv. But I have not done, I've been transmitted differently. I've been transmitted by satellite and phone lines and internet and digital, but I haven't done anything different. I've been transmitted differently, but I do the same thing. Who, what, where, when, why. I ask questions, I sit down and talk to people. And so I've been blessed in that I've had the same thing. And every day's new because I meet new people.
Mm-hmm.
What could be better than that?
Nothing. Obviously, I love it too. But let's go back, because when you started, you were just doing announcing and, you know, disc jockey
I did
work.
everything. I did disc jockey, sports, news.
Did something click the first time you did an interview where you're like, oh, this is it?
The owner of a restaurant, very popular restaurant in Miami Beach, Pumpernicks, which was a 24-hour big show business hangout. And their slowest time of the day was mid-morning. And I was doing a morning show from 6 to 9 every morning, which was getting very popular. It was very funny and a lot of things. It was a crazy show. And the owner of that restaurant said, would you come and do a show from 10 to 11 in the restaurant? And the radio station agreed to do it, so I would finish my disc jockey show 6 to 9 and then drive over to the restaurant and go on from 10 to 11. I had a big stage. The window was behind me. People could look in. And there was like an annex room. And I started interviewing. I would interview people coming into the restaurant. Didn't have a producer or anything. It was just off the cuff. But the show got popular. And one day, Bobby Darin walked in, the great Bobby Darin. And Mac the Knife was the #1 song in America. And he was singing at the Deauville across the street. And he had been listening. He was an insomniac. So he came in, and he was the first famous person I interviewed. And about a third of the way in, I felt a groove that I thought I'd be a sports announcer. I thought I'd be a baseball announcer, football. I did Miami Dolphin football later in life. But something clicked there. And the amazing thing is that other people started to come in. Ed Sullivan, Danny Thomas, Jimmy Hoffa. I had no preparation because I didn't know who was coming. We didn't have a producer. Saturday morning we would do children. Parents would bring children. So I got to interview every day, every morning. And the Miami Herald then gave me a glowing review, and they said that this show in the morning was better than this night show.
Wow.
And this was a local radio show in Miami. So that took off, and then another big radio station hired me. We left Pumpernicks, and I did a night show from 9 until midnight at Surfside 6, a very famous houseboat, which was also a national television show. And I broadcast from the houseboat, interviewing people everybody came to that boat. And at the same time I started television. And I would do a Sunday night television show and then weekend television. And then I would start doing speeches too. I spoke to local clubs and movie openings, and I was like Mr. Miami.
Yeah.
It was all a swirl to me, but all of it was communications. I love speaking, I love making people laugh, I love talking to audiences, I love asking questions, I love communicating. In other words, I love it. And if you love something, the pursuit of happiness is best dealt with passion. And if you have passion for what you do, then a great thing occurs, this interchange.
Right.
And it all stems from that passion to learn more.
One thing I heard you say that I thought was interesting in what makes a good interviewer, you had 4 points, but the 4th point, or an interviewee, someone to come on as a guest, was that they had a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah,
why is that?
Because that always adds. What you want is a passion for what you do. An interviewee has to love what he or she does.
Right.
Has to be able to explain it very well. have a sense of humor, hopefully self-deprecating, and a little bit of a chip. Now, not many people have all four, but if you have all four, you have a gift as an interview guest. So Sinatra had all four. Bill Clinton has all four.
Yeah.
A little bit of a chip. There's always a little.
Interesting.
Ali had it.
Yeah.
Ray Charles had it. A lot of people. A lot of famous people. A lot of regular people. If you have those four things, and then it's the role of the interviewer to draw them out. Yeah. But if you have those four things, it ain't hard to draw them out. But you also have to have, the one thing you can't teach is curiosity. In other words, if you're not curious about me, in other words, if you're interviewing me now and thinking about what time my plane is later, if you've lost interest in that, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
So it's the role of the interviewer to keep, now, there's no such thing, you can't do them all right, you do the best you can.
Yeah.
You try to get as much into it. But I was always able to tune out any other thing. In other words, tune out yesterday's interview, that's over. Tune out tomorrow's interview, that's still to come.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a striking worker at a plant today and the president tomorrow, I'm not thinking about the president. So I focus right in on that.
And you prepare for each one the same?
Yeah, what I do is basically a cursory. Of course, I go back to my restaurant days when I couldn't prepare. I like that.
Yeah.
We would do a show once in a while where I wouldn't know the guest. I would sit down, they'd bring the guest in, sit them down, and I had to go. But
yeah.
I like that. So my preparation was, I would meet with the producers, we'd go over some facts about the guests. We have a card with some bullet points, never had a question written, never had questions there. And then go from there. And another secret of good interviewing is listening. You have to be able to listen because one question could lead to another question based on the answer. So you have to listen to the answer. If you're thinking about what the next question is, then you're not listening for the answer. So it's an art form, I guess. I guess it's teachable, but the one thing you can't teach is curiosity. You have to be curious. And I'm the kind of person you don't want to sit next to on a plane. I drive people nuts.
Really?
Because
Still today?
I do it in regular. I do it with my kids, they drive nuts. Where were you today? What'd you do today?
Coming up, Larry's going to share with us some of the great things about his life, like being besties with Frank Sinatra, and some of the not so great things along the way. But first, I wanted to remind you, if you're loving this free show here on the interwebs, there are 3 ways to show your support. First, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Second, you can leave a comment and let me know you're enjoying this interview. And lastly, you can sign up to become a Pursuit Insider. And when you do, to show my appreciation, I'll give you a free copy of Pursuit magazine. Now let's get back into the episode. Let's go back to your career just for a second. You know, obviously you were arrested and, you know, you had no job at that point. And then you come back, you work your way back, and you have the comeback of all comebacks. I mean, they're in the 70s. I mean, how did you do it? It was just like you bounced back and then all of a sudden you're everywhere.
Well, the arrest part, that case was thrown out.
Right.
And it was a great story. I mean, it involved John Kennedy's killing and Jim Garrison and this guy raising money to find out who was involved in the killing, and I was involved. It was a whole big story.
I read your book. Everyone should read his book. It's fascinating. I couldn't stop. It was so good.
But I always had to get up off the floor, so I lost a job. Went to Louisiana, worked at a racetrack, did football there, Shreveport Steamer. Then got back into Miami and got hired again at the same station where I'd go, going back to television. And I always got up off the floor. And I always knew that if I got the chance again, I'd never goof again. So I wasn't good with money. I had people handle money.
Gotcha.
I have never seen, to this day, a paycheck. I've never seen a CNN check. I've never seen an Aura I don't know what they look like. They go to Boston, where I have an accounting firm. I have a credit card. And so even though I couldn't handle money well when I wasn't making a lot of money, then when I started to make a lot of money, that still was in me. Why not, if I was able to afford it, I could pay people to do it. Let them handle it. So I don't sit and write monthly checks.
Right.
That I can afford that. So I don't get into trouble. So I knew that got me into trouble in the past. So I concentrated on doing what I do best, which is this. I wasn't very good at romance, but now it's worked for almost 20 years. I wasn't good at that. I wasn't good in. I have great friends. I keep my friends a long time. I don't like parties and social. I'm not big into. But I love what I do.
Yeah.
And if you got the comeuppance, and I had the comeuppance, it's just getting up off the floor. I don't know how I did it. I just did it.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Your book was fascinating. Speaking of friends, Jackie Gleason.
He was very important in my life.
And he owes a favor, correct me if I'm wrong, he owes a favor to Frank Sinatra.
Correct.
And he phones in that favor for you.
Now, Frank Sinatra is sitting there, number one personality in the world. I'm sitting there. The light goes on, and all I said was, "Welcome to the Larry King Show. My guest is Frank Sinatra. Why are you here?" I didn't go through any pretensions. I didn't go to my old friend, kind of baloney. And he said, well, it was 5, 6 years ago, I was working at then Maxix Town and Country Club in New York. And it was closing night and I had laryngitis. I called up Jack. I said, Jack, I got a full crowd here. It's closing night. I can't sing. Can you come do some shtick? And Gleason came and did the show. And he said, then I walked Jackie out to his car. He was leaving. I leaned in. I said, I owe you one. And now I'm in Miami and I get a message from Jackie to call him. And I called him and all Jackie said was, this is the one.
Wow. So
he called in a favor.
Yeah.
And that's how I got him. And that began a friendship with Frank. And I did Frank Sinatra's last interview. That's the Sinatra Gleason story.
Which was incredible. Great friendship, great story. And that was sort of one of your tipping points. Do you have other tipping points where you felt like an interview really took your career to the next level? Certain celebrities or? Well,
not one, but it started, it was a swirl. The national radio show began in 1978. And that was all over the country. It was the first national, it was the first national talk show. And my first guests were Jackie Gleason, and Don Shula, coach of the Dolphins. And that show took off. We had 35 stations. It wound up with 500 stations. And Ted Turner was one of the guests on that show. I was also doing local television. And I had a newspaper column every day. I was really in a swirl. And Ted Turner called me and asked if I wanted to join CNN. And he had an opening at 9 o'clock. Sandy Freeman was doing a show, and he didn't like her husband. I said, well, gee, I don't, my nights are kind of nice. I go to Dodger games. I go to, Oriole games. Go to baseballs in Washington. I do Caps hockey. I'm on in between periods, do a lot of sports. This way, if I have to do this from 9 to 10, I got no social life. I got to work 9 to 10 and then midnight to 4.
Yeah.
So my agent was Bob Wolf, the late Bob Wolf, great sports agent, but he represented me, and he went and met with Ted. And he said, listen, this is not a bad deal. You got a 3-year deal. They pay you a good amount of money, but at the end of a year, if you're unhappy, you can leave. He can't drop you, but you can leave. So give it a year. So the turning point was that first night on CNN, June 1st, 1985. Mario Cuomo was governor of New York, and he was my guest. And I tell you, Kelsey, this is really weird. And we had a little studio in Georgetown. CNN was just getting off the ground. I knew 10 minutes into that show, and that show took off, and it ran almost 26 years at the same time every night. And we did presidents and world leaders. And
tell us, at that point, I guess late 70s, 80s, you were doing CNN and you're still doing radio.
Did radio for 20 years. I did radio until 1997.
So kind of walk us through, what was an average day like back then? I mean, you must have been running around, must have been a lot.
Oh, it was pretty wild. I did a column every week. First I was doing daily columns.
Wow.
I also did a column for the Sporting News. Wow. Old-fashioned way, with a typewriter. I would do the television 9 to 10, drive to the radio and do the radio midnight to 4, sleep till about 11, 12 o'clock, get up, do lunch, into town, mingle with people, write a column, talk, do early dinner, back again with the swirl.
Yeah.
And wound up in 1987 with a heart attack.
Right.
And subsequently heart surgery. And that was, of course, was a tremendous volcanic periods of my life. But it was a lucky heart attack. I was smoking 3 packs a day. I loved cigarette smokes. I never smoked again. That day, February 24th, 1987. But it went fine, and I lived. So for turning points, you asked one simple question, I gave you turning points.
Yeah, wow, many. One thing I think the reason people love you so much is you always say Little Larry from Brooklyn. You know how you
never got out of that.
Yeah, but at some point, Little Larry became a giant celebrity. You know, you're talking about the royal treatment at the hospital, and did fame change you? Did it change the way you ask questions or the show?
No. No? Because I always felt I was just every man. I wasn't intellectual. I didn't go to college. So the New Yorker did a nice story on me in which they said street questions. He asked questions that people would think about. And I never thought, was this a good question or a bad question? I just thought about what makes people tick. When we were kids in Brooklyn, we'd go to baseball games, Dodger games. I was at Jackie Robinson's first game, wound up interviewing him later. And all my friends wanted autographs. I never wanted autographs. I wanted to ask questions. So the players would leave and I'd run down the street. Why'd you bunt? Why'd they do this? Why'd they do that? Why? And I kept that with me. Short questions, be inquisitive. And so no matter, I never looked, the fame was nice, people recognize you, take pictures. Still, I can't walk down the street, people do. It's very nice. But when I'm in the situation of working, I never forget where I came from and who I am. So I was never more important than the guest. I never use the word I. I is irrelevant in an interview. I'm there as a conduit through me to the audience. But see, simple things.
Yeah.
So I never lost that touch. I always, I have friends who I grew up with. I meet them every morning for breakfast. To them, I'm Larry Zeiger.
Right.
I left Brooklyn, but Brooklyn never left me. So I'm 82 years old, and I wonder what I want to do. What else can I do?
Yeah.
Because I get up in the morning and I got to do something. So I've never lost, I don't think, that touch. I think people saw that. They saw me as I didn't have pretensions. I didn't have an agenda. And this whole new digital world to me, with Aura, is incredible to me. That Carlos Slim could be a partner, that we could reach out to people that we didn't do on CNN, hip hop people.
Right. Yeah.
Young stars, and we appeal to a vastly younger audience. But I like it all. For example, rap stars. We do a lot of rappers, and they all know me, and I learned a lot. So I learned a lot, probably from having teenage boys.
Right. Yeah.
I never criticized them They listen to music. I get in the car with them. I don't even know the words they're saying, but they know the words.
Right.
They know the words.
Yeah.
So I am open to them because I'm open to what they see in that. Therefore, I want to learn from the rappers because obviously they're making a connection. It's easy to put them down.
Right.
But somebody likes them.
Yeah. Speaking of your sons, do you think that you've had success in that area of your life?
I've had failure and success. I had failure in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I was a good, now my grown children are all very close.
Mm.
But I don't think I was a very good father when they were growing up because my work came first.
Right.
And
would you go back and change that?
and yeah, if I could, I'd devote more time to
You
them.
would?
I used to say if I got a call, 2 calls, come home, 2 calls. CNN called urgent, your wife called urgent. I'd call CNN first.
Yeah.
Not the last 20 years I wouldn't. So these 2 boys that I've been lucky enough to have when I was 65 and 66, they are very close with their 3 older siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I have one son who's 60, and another son who's 53, and a daughter who's 49.
Mm.
And I have 2 children, 17 and 16, are both athletes. And they're all close with them.
Mm.
My 17-year-old goes to IMG Academy in Florida, baseball academy. He flies down there tomorrow. My other son plays at Beverly High. They're both excellent. They're both good. I'm a much better father now.
Mm.
I'm more attentive to them. I try to see all the games they play. I still love work.
Yeah.
I still love going to work. But yeah, I failed at that, and I failed at marriage for a couple of reasons. One, my work came first. 2, I'm amazed at people who are married 50, 60 years.
Mm.
Because what I find, that what I loved at 20,
Yeah.
it's not what I loved at 30.
Mm-hmm.
What I liked at 30, not what I liked at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And 50 was completely different than 40. So, I loved a few women. And I don't find anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
I was a good ex-husband.
Mm.
I supported children.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to be good. I was like Jimmy Carter, very good ex-president. I'll be the best ex-president ever,
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter. No one worked harder, did more for more people. I was a better former.
Mm.
I was a good date. I was
I
a very
believe
good
that.
date. I was, and I had a fluid
And so
combination.
funny.
And I made them laugh. So the best part was, and I noticed you say something here on your little cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's not success that brings happiness, but rather the hustle, the grind, the pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
The best part was the climb.
Mm.
The best part was each little run, making it. That was better than making it, climbing it.
Yeah.
The climb was a load of fun.
Awesome.
The pursuit, the ups, the downs, that was it.
Mm.
Because when you really kind of make it and you're of a certain age, as Don Rickles said, what are they going to do to me?
Yeah.
So you're at a point
Right.
now, what can you screw
Yeah.
up? So that was the best part.
Mm.
The worst part was, had I paid better attention to finances and my life earlier, I would have not gotten married as much, and I would have been, I think, known nationally sooner. I wasn't known nationally till I was late 40s, early 50s. I could have been known in the 20s.
Yeah.
I was good. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew I was good at one thing.
Clearly.
I was good at communicating,
Right.
and I could have had it sooner. And I was out in Miami. I was a big wheel in Miami, but I could have gone to New York sooner. I could have gone to LA sooner. You know I was good. I knew I was good at that.
Right.
Well, not good at a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I can communicate. I can make people laugh. I can tell a joke. I can ask a question. And I'm comfortable in what I do. In other words, I'm very at home in a studio. I'm at home with a camera.
Right.
There's that camera. Burt Reynolds used to say whenever he would shoot a scene, the first thing he'd do in the morning is go over to the cameras and say, "Love me. Love me today." I didn't say that.
Right.
But I never approached it. Like, I came from radio. I did 2 years of radio before I did any television. And I approached television as radio with a camera. That's what we're doing right now. We are radio.
Yeah.
We're talking.
And it'll be on a podcast. So
be on a podcast. Now, people could imagine anything they want, which is what I like about radio. You describe this trophy room. They can make it anything they want listening.
Right.
They can make you, well, you're very pretty, they can make you prettier.
Thank you.
Right? They can make you 7 feet tall.
Right.
Could be whatever you want. Like, we could say right now, "You're sitting on my lap." See what I mean? Well, she's sitting on my lap. She's got her arms around me. This is like crazy. We've been doing this whole interview while making out.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
now the audience.
Okay.
Okay. See, that was
Okay, final 2 questions. So someone in communications, what is your number one piece in their career, trying to make it in that business, whether news or show business, but in the communication business, what's your number one piece of advice for them?
Never give up. Get in early. It don't matter what job you have getting in. In other words, you want to be a broadcaster, and they offer you a job as a receptionist. Take it, because you're in. Once you're in, you're at a radio station or a television station or a newspaper, you're in. Now you're a receptionist, right? Or a salesman, don't matter what. Now you get to know the program director. And you say to the program director, "You know, could I do a tape? Could you listen to me? I think I could work." Get in. Yeah. So don't be afraid to get in. Work your ass off. Do whatever they say. Work weekends. Show up early. Right? And don't give up. In other words, if you're in a business where objectivity is on the viewer, so you can't make the viewer like you. Right. So be yourself. It's the first thing. Arthur Godfrey, the great broadcaster years ago, told me the only secret in this business, the only secret is there's no secret. Be yourself. Yeah. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be Kelsey if you're not Kelsey. Don't try to be Larry if you're not Larry. Yeah. Be yourself. And if you could, it's wide open. Anyone can make it if they're good. I don't believe there is a great broadcaster in Duluth, Minnesota, who is 60 years old and has never tried to make it. He didn't make it, or he didn't try. Right. You will make it. If you can hit a baseball well, you will make it. If you can complete a pass, throw a pass, you will make it. Nothing will stop you, because it's that kind of business. Right. Now what you need, and this part is the luck. Luck, you can make your own luck. I needed Ted Turner to like me. What if he didn't like me? That I can't make. And I always knew that I didn't own the camera. Right. CNN owned the camera, Aura.tv, they own the camera. I'm a functionary of the camera. I need people around me to work. I need the PR person, I need the technical people, I need to understand, always understand that there's people helping you. Yeah. So my last question, you are an icon in your industry. I mean, the tip of the top. So someone out there, separate industry, but they want to be the tip of the spear, the max, the top. Well, how do they get there? What's your advice? Well, the pursuit is fun. Another thing is, trust your instincts. I'll tell you a story. I haven't told this story much. Oh, score. In 1989, I had a window in my contract, a 30-day window, in which I could seek other jobs. And if I accepted a job, I had to give a 2-month notice to Ted Turner. Okay. Leave CNN. And I was making, I think I was making a good piece of change at CNN. But Wow, we went around. I got offers from Fox, Disney, ABC. They wanted me to follow Nightline. Area, follow Ted Koppel.
Yeah.
The King brothers, who did Oprah,
Right.
offered me the same kind of deal Oprah had. So we wound it down to ABC or the King brothers, King World. So we had 30 days. We got to tell Ted that we're leaving and to give him notice. And it was the last day. So I was living in Washington. I said, listen, Bob Wolf, you go down to Atlanta. You talk to Ted. It was hard for me. I'm going to go out to LA and spend the weekend. And on Monday, you'll meet with Ted and you'll call me. Give notice. And we told King World and ABC the situation. You have to tell Ted, it's going to be one or the other. It's going to be ABC, and it was double money, double what I was making. Either King World or ABC. I go out to LA, I'm single, I'm dating Angie Dickinson. She meets me at the airport, it's raining. She had an umbrella, and we're driving in the car. She's going to drop me at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And we're talking, and she says, so what's happening? I said, well, I got these big offers, ABC and King World, and take one or the other. She said, are you unhappy? I said, no. She said, well, think about it, because if you're not unhappy, the first day at either King World or ABC, if you have a bad day, you're going to say, why do I leave? Just think about it. Okay, I'll think about it. Now it's Monday morning, and the phone rings, and it's 6 a.m. in LA. It's 9 a.m. in Atlanta. Ted's on the phone, speakerphone. Larry, it's Ted. I hear Bob in the background and other people talking, and Bob is yelling, this is unethical.
That's your agent, right?
Yeah. And Ted says to me, Larry, say goodbye. Just say goodbye, and I'll know you're leaving.
Couldn't do it?
Couldn't do it. Oh. And he said, I tell you what, Larry, you stay with me. I'll double your pay in 6 months.
Wow.
I'll give you another 2 years on your contract. You gonna stay with me? I'll stay. I stayed. And I learned something that day. And it was the best move I ever made. I mean, I'm sure ABC would have been fine. Trust your instincts. So my advice would be, no matter what industry you're in, if you're happy, don't leave, and don't do something just for money. There has to be a second reason.
Gotcha.
You like the situation.
Right.
You like the new city. But if it's just for money, that's a mistake. So what she said was smart. And had she not said it, but I think even if she hadn't said it, I would have frozen, because I was a loyal person. I'm very loyal to Ted. We have the same birthday. Yeah, and so I would say to you, trust your instincts, and don't let the bad days keep you down. You know, as you get knocked down, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get rejected. You're going to get fired. You're going to lose things on the way. Never give up.
Amazing advice. Thank you so much for this time. We will be right back after this with Fast Facts. Okay, obviously, Larry, I was gonna love him because we both love to interview and ask people questions, and I knew we would be kindred spirits. He is so warm and so friendly, and it was just amazing. That will definitely be one of my favorites of all time, one of the most amazing experiences in my life, I'm sure. He shared a lot about how to become the standard in your industry, but here are my top few keys to success for the rest of us from my conversation with Larry King.
Number 1, find a way in. King says that when he met a CBS staff announcer by chance, he jumped at the opportunity to tell him, I want to get into radio. How can I break in? And the staffer told him to go to Miami, a new market with more opportunities, which a lot of people may want to try and be a big fish in a big pond right away, but it's easier to get in and become a big fish in a small pond first. Then King says, just get whatever job you can to break in. Once you're in, work hard, show up early, do what they say, and don't give up. Number 2, keep saying yes. Once he got into the industry, he did everything. He started as a local DJ. He began a radio show from a restaurant. He did a show that broadcast from a houseboat. He did weekend local television, then more local television. He booked speaking engagements and newspaper columns and ribbon cuttings. He became Mr. Miami. His local success led to his national success, and he just kept saying yes throughout his career. But number 3, stick with what you know. All of those yeses all fit under the umbrella of communications. He says he's been transmitted differently, but he's not doing anything different. He keeps it simple. Who, what, when, where, why. He asks questions, and he advises us to delegate the rest. He relies heavily on those around him, from technicians and producers and publicists, so that he can perform when the light goes on. Number 4 is for anyone who needs to perform well under pressure, which is pretty much all of us today, trying to make a difference in the world, trying to grow your career. And King's advice to perform well under pressure is to stay in the moment. So number 4 is to be present. He says he tunes out yesterday's interview, he tunes out tomorrow's interview, and he focuses on the task at hand. Number 5, keep yourself grounded. King still refers to himself as Little Larry Zeiger, which was his given name, but he changed it because it was too Jewish early on in his career. And he says that he never put on airs, trying to put on some impression that he was more intelligent. He never went to college. He wasn't friends with these celebrities. He wasn't trying to make it look like he knew him. He said he didn't do any of that, quote, baloney. Number 6, prioritize your personal life. This is a lesson we can learn from his mistakes. His workaholism and smoking led to a major heart attack, which was very scary for him. And he's been married 8 times and openly admits he regrets that he would answer his work phone calls over family phone calls. And work always came first. So make sure you don't make King's mistake in that regard. Next, mind your money. He says that if he had learned earlier in his career to pay attention to his finances, he would have had less marriages, he would have had more success at work, and he would have become known nationally sooner. As soon as he realized he wasn't good with money, he outsourced that, having a finance firm handle all of his money for him. He said he's never seen a paper paycheck. Someone else handles all of that for him. So make sure that you mind your finances throughout your career. Number 8, trust your instincts. Although King loved sports and thought he would be a sports announcer, his intuition kicked in during his first celebrity interview in 1958 with Bobby Darin while he was sitting there in the restaurant, which, remember, he would just interview random guests coming into the restaurant, and then one day a celebrity walked in. And he says once he started that interview, something clicked and he knew. And he felt the same click later when he did his first CNN show, which prompted him to stay at CNN, which was a risk at the time when he was offered more money to go to a different position. He stayed on at what was a small startup cable network, and man, did that pay off. He says no matter what industry you're in, don't make decisions just for money, and make sure you trust your instincts. Number 9, King was self-aware about his talent early on. He says he's at home in a studio or at home in front of the camera. But in addition to that knowledge, his success came from early advice he received from Arthur Godfrey, who told him that you can't make the viewer like you. There's no secret in the communications or entertainment industry other than to just be yourself. And I was encouraged that King went on to tell anyone who's an aspiring communicator or broadcaster or entertainer that if they have the skills and they're willing to stick with it for a really long time, King says they will make it, period. Lastly, King's advice is to keep getting up. He had many things that knocked him down throughout his career. At one point, he was in jail. He's been bankrupt. He's had multiple divorces. He had his heart attack. He had many things that came against him, and he said he just kept getting back up. Even now, he wonders, what else can I do, even though he's 83? In any industry, but especially entertainment or communications, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get rejected. You're going to get fired. But his advice is to, quote, never give up.
All right, we are back and we are going to play 2 rounds of Fast Facts. The first round of Fast Facts is about all of your interviews. We had people writing on the internet. Everyone wants to know about your interviews. So try and answer as fast as you can, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay, got to talk fast?
Yes. Okay, any modern day interviewers you admire?
I admire Bob Costas. I loved Mike Wallace, but he passed away. I don't see many. I'm sure there are good ones around the country.
Gotcha.
Too many on the national scale. Fast, I'm doing this fast. Too many on the national scale have their opinions. So if I watch MSNBC or Fox of them, I know what they think. I don't want to know what they think.
Gotcha. Okay. Any guests that ever made you really angry?
Governor George Wallace of Alabama, when he was early stages of segregationists. I hated segregation.
People you want to interview but haven't yet?
Fidel Castro, love to do it.
Any interview you wish you could go back and redo?
Yes, I interviewed, I should forget his name, the head of Apple TV. I had interviewed Steve Jobs when he started Apple, but this was later. I interviewed the head of Apple. I interviewed him for 2 hours on the radio. He left, and the first caller I took said, Larry, he fired Steve Jobs. Never asked him if I could have that back.
The question that got away. Guest you were most nervous about or excited about?
Nervous, excited was the first time in the White House. Ooh. In the White House, interviewing President Bush, George Bush the First, and being in the White House and being criticized because Barbara Bush said to me, Larry, suspenders in the White House? Wearing a jacket. I said, Barbara, it's my look.
Right, yeah, good thing.
But I was nervous. But you get over that.
Yeah.
And Sinatra was nervous. You get over that.
First question, or favorite question to ask?
Why?
Favorite question to be asked?
Why? Because you can't answer in one word.
Yeah.
So anytime you say why, you got to think.
Right.
Why did you do that? Why did you go there? Why? But if you say something like did you go there? They can answer you in one word.
Question. All right, I think that's it for our
fast facts.
For the writing questions. Now we're going to do fast facts that are just fun things. Okay. The first question I have is, what's the wallpaper on your phone? But you're still using a flip phone, right? Or
what do you mean by wallpaper?
I'll show you. The background, like, look, it's my child.
That's your child?
Yes. Isn't she cute?
She's adorable.
That's my wallpaper.
Wallpaper?
Yeah, that's what it's
called.
called.
My flip phone has wallpaper.
It does? It's probably like the standard issue.
No. I'll tell you what I have.
Okay,
First,
see.
it's a flip phone.
It's a
which
flip
is
phone.
Fantastic. I had shut it off, so I'm going to turn it on.
That's nice of you. It's probably going to
show
blow
you,
up, though,
I'll show you.
everyone, all your texts.
No, it's a phone. You can actually talk on the phone. I use it for 2 things: make calls and receive them.
Okay.
I don't do texts.
I'll remove that
I
question.
don't do email. I have people do email, but now watch this.
Okay.
I'll show you what's on my phone.
It's coming to life.
And there it is. Picture the wife and the 2 boys.
Oh, yes, that's a wallpaper on a flip phone.
That's
All
my
right.
wallpaper, is the wife and the 2 boys.
Love it. Okay, Scrabble or charades? If you had to pick a game to play,
Scrabble.
Recent book you read?
Oh my God, I'm always reading a book. I just finished the book on the history of Bush and Cheney. Everything by Mark Twain.
Favorite nonfiction book?
Theodore White's The Making of the President, 1960, about the Kennedy-Nixon election.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
One word you say too often.
By the way, I know this is the internet. It's a great word. It has so many interpretations. How'd the interview go? Great. How'd it go? Right? I'm saying the same thing.
You're right. Who's the last person that called you?
My son Chance to tell me that his car is making a bad sound in his Jeep. And he's leaving for Florida tomorrow, and how will we correct the Jeep?
Gotcha. And last person you called?
The guy to take care of the Jeep.
Last vacation you took?
Italy, last September. I'm going again this September.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Winter or summer?
Neither. I like fall and spring. Hate winter, hate summer, hate snow, hate rain.
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Favorite snack?
walnuts.
What do you eat for breakfast?
Same thing every day. Honey Nut Cheerios with blueberries, half a bagel scooped out, toasted with a little non-fat cream cheese and lox.
What is your favorite music right now?
Always Sinatra.
Guilty pleasure TV show?
Seinfeld. Every day, watch reruns. Of course, all the years I was on the air at 9 o'clock, I never got to see it. And now I appreciate how really brilliant it is.
Yeah. Biggest pet peeve?
Bigotry.
What would your wife say is her biggest pet peeve of you? Something you do.
My clockhead. I'm always on time. She's never on time. I always remind her that she's late. I am time conscious, probably because of working on the air. You can't go on at about 9.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta go on 9.
Yeah.
So I'm always aware of what time it is. Right now it's like 12 o'clock. I could go up to her right now and say what time it is. She could be 4 o'clock or even what date? She wouldn't know the date. I don't know how she survived.
Lastly, how many pairs of suspenders do you own?
About 100.
100. And what is your current pursuit? What's next for Larry King?
I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. My nephew is Scott Zeiger, who's a major Broadway producer. And he's seen me do my stand-up routine when I speak at conventions. I just do comedy. I never speak seriously. So my one thing I like to do, I told him that I'd like to do like a month on Broadway, an evening with Larry King, where I just go out, tell stories, take questions.
Yeah.
I've done that on the road a million times. He produced a comedy tour I did, but to do New York, that would be. So he's working on it.
Cool. Well, I can't wait.
Kelsey, you're terrific.
Oh, thank you very much. Everyone be sure and tune in to Larry King Now on Aura TV and on Hulu. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kelsey. Great being with you. All right, now get off my lap.
I'm Kelsey Humphreys. This is Larry King, and this has been The Pursuit.
Don't forget, guys, there are 3 ways to support the show. You can subscribe here on YouTube, you can leave a comment, and you can go subscribe to the weekly emails to go behind the scenes and get extra info from each episode.